And thank you for being here, Ms. Liang. In 2019, the average daily turnover value of the US dollar constituted 88% of the foreign exchange market transactions globally. This dominance by the dollar in the global marketplace is a key reason why the dollar remains the reserve currency of the world. The existence of hundreds of different types of privately established cryptocurrency, in my view, presents a threat to the dollar's status in global transactions. However, stablecoins backed by the US dollar, I believe, present a unique opportunity to ensure the US remains the reserve currency of the world as the financial service industry adapts to new technologies of blockchain and cryptocurrencies. Despite this critical aspect of stablecoins, the President's Working Group on Financial Markets report on stablecoins does not mention global competitiveness as a key aspect of stablecoin development. I think it's a striking oversight. I guess I got a couple questions here. Do you have any concern about the numbers of these cryptocurrencies and how they're being established and how they're working? And with respect to stable coins, do you see an opportunity to be able to actually help protect the reserve currency status and enhance the US dollar? Where would you stand on some of those issues? And can you elaborate, please?
Yes. So I believe the importance of the US dollar and its position in the global financial system is incredibly important for the economic well-being of the United States. I believe the recommendations to require stablecoin issuers backed by the US dollar to be put within a regulatory framework that assures that they are in fact stable is the best way to promote the US dollar. Currently, stablecoins are being issued with limited regulatory oversight or outside the regulation, backed by the US dollar. So they are claiming stable value without any assurance that they can provide stable value. So I do strongly believe the PWG recommendations are highly supportive of ensuring the position of the US dollar in the global system.
Well, short of regulating and forcing them to do this, is there a way to incentivize these stable coins to use dollars as the medium to be matched against, in your view? I'm not a big fan of regulation, but by the same token, I think we have to understand, I think there's a threat here with these cryptocurrencies being utilized in a way. Fortunately, right now, everybody will either turn around and go back to dollars or the natural currency of their country to be able to eventually be able to get their investments back monetized. But is there a way we can incentivize the stablecoin folks to use dollars, or what? Have you looked into that at all?
So I think currently they have a natural incentive to use the US dollar because it is the global currency. I believe the incentives we need to put in place are to ensure it remains. And I think the role of the US dollar is based on the country's respect for rule of law, the strength of its institutions, its economic potential, the depth and breadth of the financial markets, not the technology per se, but it is important. So that is the critical element. It's the fundamental strength of the dollar, and the technology can reinforce it.
It's interesting you make that comment. I appreciate the fact that you believe that in order for stablecoins to be successful, we have to have a stable economy. We have to have a stable currency in this country, and that's the incentive. So it makes sense for us to continue to work hard to maintain our reserve currency and the stability of our money and our country's economy. Thank you for that.
Secretary Liang, for your testimony. I want to follow up the questions from Mr. Luchtenmeyer a little bit about protecting the dollar as the world's reserve currency. As innovations in digital assets advance, it is vitally important that we maintain the dollar's position as the world's reserve currency. Given that major stable coins are denominated in dollars, the adoption would likely not compromise the dollar as the world's reserve currency. Number one, Undersecretary, do you agree with that? And secondly, Do you agree that as dollar-backed stable coins such as USDC are adopted, the threat to the dollar from cryptocurrencies and other central bank digital currencies is diminished?
So I agree with your statement that it is important to preserve the value of the dollar. I believe stable coins that are stable and can deliver a stable value tied to the dollar would be would benefit the U.S. dollar.
The growing popularity of stablecoins introduces some regulatory challenges, but also presents opportunities. At a time when some regimes, like, take, for example, Communist China, are using top-down restrictions on their digital yuan to maintain totalitarian control of their populace, stablecoins have emerged as an innovative, entrepreneurial way to provide wider access to the U.S. dollar around the world. Stablecoins pegged to the U.S. dollar can help ease cross-border transactions and help maintain the dollar's status as the world's reserve currency. So, Ms. Liang, in your testimony, you mentioned furthering the United States' continued leadership of the global financial system as a goal of the President's working group framework. Can you explain how the Presidential Working Group's recommendations aim to further America's global leadership on the world stage?
So I think first, the role of the dollar and the role of the U.S. in the global financial system depend primarily on the country's governance structure, its respect for rule of law, the strength of its institutions, the strength of its economy, the liquidity of its financial markets. Technology can play a role. It is not the primary role. And I believe that stable coins that are tied to the value of a U.S. dollar can help to promote the role of the U.S. dollar, but it needs to be on a stable footing. It needs to actually be stable. Stable coins that are not stable could undermine some of the confidence in the dollar.
All right, well, thank you. I want to ensure that
Undersecretary Liang, I wanted to follow up on a line of questioning on the importance of the dollar on the global stage. If Congress banned stable coins, do you think that stable coins would be developed in other countries?
Yes, I think stable coins would continue to develop.
And do you think stable coins would be pegged to other currencies rather than the dollar?
I think there would be the use cases would determine what it would want to peg to. But if the US dollar is supported by not stable coins or technology, but by the country's respect for rule of law, it's the infrastructure, the economic potential of the country. But no doubt, if you created currency or payment systems that are separate and independent, it would take away from, what could have been additional contributions to the role of the dollar.
Sure. The US dollar, of course, is the world's dominant reserve currency, and as I think has already been mentioned, approximately 59% of all foreign exchange reserves are held in US dollars. Currently, the $5 pegged stablecoins represent 94% of the market. Undersecretary Liang, what are the benefits of having stablecoins pegged to the US dollar as opposed to other currencies?
I think the reflection of that many of the major stablecoins being pegged to the dollar reflects that the dollar is the primary reserve currency. And I think for policy purposes, policies to promote the strength of the dollar are critical, and stablecoins will continue to peg to the dollar as long as the dollar remains strong and reflects.
So is the inverse true, that having a majority of stable coins pegged to the dollar might help to preserve the dollar's status as the world's reserve currency?
Yes, I think it is a positive contribution.
And are there stable coins that reference other currencies such as the yuan or the euro today?
The Central Bank of China has issued a digital currency. Yes.
Thank you, Senator Rounds. So the PWG recommendations were designed to promote innovation that is responsible and protects users and the economy, at the same time while addressing some of the risks that it can pose as stablecoins is used for payments. So agree with the principles and believe that a stable coin would go far in preserving the global reserve currency. The dollar is the global reserve currency. I think there is no conflict there. I think it's actually important. It is part